You're listening to the C1D Paintball podcast.
Hey there, Andrew, C1D podcast. I am joined today in our first episode of season 2, episode 1, the 2025 season. I am joined by Jeff, first of all.
Hi.
And don't be so formal. I'm also joined by, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Connor.
Hello, gentlemen. Good to be back.
Oh, he's learned some manners from the British before at the last break. So, first off, I want to say is if you're listening to this as it's happening, being recorded as Chris is right now, that's because you're on Discord. Join our Discord server. It's a great place. You can listen to this live. There's lots of other resources. We're actually going to have a little podcast where we explain about it because it's got a lot of good, valuable resources. Because we are lucky enough to have some from chatty, knowledgeable paintball people within our group. So I want to say that. And I want to start the show. Actually, I'm going to announce right now that we actually just released a video 4 minutes ago, a promotion for D-Day that I worked on today. Connor heard the music over and over and over again. Probably from my office. He probably said, I hope he gets that done tonight so I don't have to hear that for the next week.
I've basically heard the whole video through and through, so I don't need to watch it. You know, I can kind of just, I kind of just have mental images of what goes with the audio. So,
okay, good. Because there's no words. It's very artistically done. Now let's talk about, I want to know, Jeff, what have you done so far as in this paintball off season up to date?
I've redone a room upstairs to be my new paintball den. I'm in the process of taking apart a Tiberius 8.1 pistol to get that working again. And just basically making sure everything's up and running and ready to go for whatever evening games we might play indoors or just to be ready for the new season.
Huzzah! Connor, what have you done paintball-wise to date since the last time you played?
I had exams for school, which I studied for, and because I studied for them, my brain was too tired to do anything, so I didn't do anything until now. So, nothing paintball related.
Okay. Actually, this proves my point. I know, and we are going to have Nick. I call him jolly old Saint Nick since it's still close to Christmas. By the way, after
Epiphany,
when you're in double digits in January, stop saying Happy New Year because some people do it to February. But I'm using jolly old Saint Nick because Nick has organized an outdoor event on January 11th. And we also are going to have an indoor event either the last week of January or the first week of February. So we will have paintball to talk about. But my thing is, like, I need downtime. So Jeff, Connor mentioning, you guys having your own downtime. Well, Jeff has, he's moving his paintball room upstairs. I'm sure you might have some other stuff that you promised your wife once the paintball season would be done. And
his whole room has been redone.
That
was the priority.
There you go. And
so now she can move her stuff downstairs.
But and
so I get her space.
There you go. And it's for me, it's planning in that. It's definitely planning. Now the follow-up question is, look, we are going to have, like I said, there's an outdoor game. I'm skipping the outdoor games. I'm not conditioned for that right now. I'm going to play the indoor. But basically, this is the time of year that I plan. Whether it's videos or what the crew is going to do, because we got some big news. We knew D-Day was happening. The registration is open last week. The earliest I can remember. I'm not sure if the website is fixed up because I think it still was linking 2024, but they're pumping it early, and of course that pumps us up as well. But for me, the off season is doing the planning, and it's something I actually really enjoy. Jeff, do you actually is it just strictly recharge the batteries for you, or what is it for you in the off season, generally speaking? Because you've had more off seasons than me. You've played longer.
I don't like off season because I had like basically almost 2 years of during COVID and recuperation not being able to play. I will go through all my gear, make sure it's all working. I'll try different configurations for my markers, different configurations for my vest. See which pouches work best, how to go about just basically fine tune everything as much as possible. And like I said, find the odd small project. Like I said, I'm refurbishing a Tiberius 8.1, and I got to work on that for a bit. And just have my hands on it. I have to be working on it, do something. And because I have a crawl space in the basement that's not paneled or anything, I might, fire off a few rounds to make sure that the air is going through and it's working properly. So I don't really have a downtime. I just have a restricted time.
Connor, 2025, by the way, marks officially the 8th season for C1D. Of course, Connor, it was me, you, Alex, and Michael basically for a big chunk of that. But but we used to play year round. Basically 2 years ago, we stopped that. We're not going to count COVID. We actually played some calendar dates in 2020, very, very limited, but it's kind of a season. But Connor, what do you look forward to in the off season, or is it just turning off all completely from it?
Well, I'd say my view on the off season is pretty similar to yours, in the sense that it's a time to kind of rest up and prepare for what's to come. We're working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes for the summer when we get out playing again. So it's a good time to do that, where we don't have to juggle, playing as much as we used to, and getting all our gear ready, cleaning it up, whatever. But aside from that, I also like the excuse of not having to play, almost in a weird way. I feel like I almost have a type of personality, not an addictive personality, but I'll become really obsessed with something. Say a new video game comes out, I'll play it nonstop for 3 months, and I'll never play it ever again, even if there's new stuff for it coming out. And so having that time off from paintball during the winter kind of, from what I imagine, it stops me from almost burning out playing it. Is that I'm always looking forward to when it starts again in the spring, I guess, because of the time off, as I miss it. I never get to that part where I start kind of, oh, we're doing this and whatever. It doesn't become a chore at any point. It's always still a fun hobby. And so I'm kind of appreciative for the snow.
It's one of these things, and I know Jeff, your boys played competitive hockey. Connor and my daughter Courtney both played competitive hockey and ringette. Well, Courtney played ringette and hockey. Connor with the hockey. A lot of parents in that. We're all, for those that don't know, we're Canadian. If you happen to trip across this podcast, very passionate about hockey. Everybody thinks their kid's going to make the NHL, even though they aren't. But the thing that has become in the past 20 years is they play year round. Always year round, year after year. And I don't think it's good. I think it's good if you condition in that, but I think too much of something will make you burn out. Burn out on those kind of things. But you know what, paintball, there's guys that play year round, they're all geared for it. But for somebody like Connor mentioned, and Jeff's because Jeff, you are hands-on with your markers, and that I'm not a hands-on kind of guy. But because I do organize, and because I've been lucky enough to see this group grow, planning out for next year. And by the way, Jeff and Connor, Jeff, you got a certain young man in your life, a new marker. You got Jared, a marker, your son.
Yeah, he used to run with a Phenom, next 7 Phenom, but it got damaged during some of the flooding we had during the heavy rains. So at the last night game we played, I let him use my TMC, and he liked it a lot. So he asked for that for Christmas, and he was very happy. He was basically walking around the house all day after he got to openings, shooting at me, aiming at me, saying, "Just wait till the summer." I'm like, okay, this might be a mistake. Remember how our kids would sleep with their mask or their stick or whatever new gear they got for hockey? Yeah. I'm sure to God he probably slept with a marker that night. I can't confirm it, and he'll probably deny it, but it wasn't under the tree when I went to bed that night, so I don't know.
As long as he moved a knife before he put the marker underneath his pillow, then we're cool.
Yeah.
Connor actually has a different setup for next year. Connor has been known for having his SMG style, so the short, stubby stock, courtesy of MWR with an 8-inch barrel. He's got kind of the angled one now. It's kind of triangular in the back, MWR, so a new marker with that. I think he's still going to be good for CQB because he's got the short front. But Connor, I think you with that new stock, I think you'll be feel a little bit more competitive at the longer distances.
Probably. Biggest reason why I wanted it to more than anything is I liked being able to bring it so close to my body so easily, but having the tank angled down, it was kind of awkward. Even knowing it's always going to be there, it was still great, but I figured why not just try, having it angled up now with the new setup. I think, I mean, it still shouldn't be a problem to go around corners and stuff and bring my marker up quick when I'm running or something. From what I can imagine, yeah, I don't think it'll really have too much of an effect on usual type of play. So we'll have to wait and see.
I'll actually put up a picture of that for those of you watching on YouTube. There's going to be a couple things we're talking about that there's pictures. Don't worry if you're listening to this in Spotify. It's marker MWR, a stock. I will put a link if anybody wants to see that. It's pretty nifty. Okay. Now, I've actually got a bunch of things. I got my 3 screens. This screen to my right is where I do one thing. Screen to my immediate left is where I look at the camera. And in the middle, I've got actual, like it's almost like it's a real thing. It's a real show here of things we talk about and stuff. I mentioned we just released a D-Day promo that Jeff hasn't seen. And Connor made it pretty clear that, you know what, he doesn't, he'll figure it out. He heard it. So he's filling in the blanks. Just kind of scary, but at least he's not walking around the house with his marker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not yet. We actually released 30 videos last month. And the reason why is a lot of them were the 1v1. I had the individual games, so I threw them up there. And I also, actually, we had closer to 40 videos, I think. I also had a bunch of little videos that were kind of just kicking around that weren't that great, just kind of like little things. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to release and get them out. So I got that. And we're starting a new series next week called Raw Footage. Raw Footage is, as one would imagine, it's the video. I don't enhance any graphics. I enhanced sound because it was lower level. But there's a theme to it. Like I'm playing in the tall grass at, what's the name of that field again? Lancaster, right?
Lancaster.
Yeah, it's my point of view camera. Point of view cameras that face you. And usually they're crap, but because of the nature of this game, it worked out pretty good. So one thing about that series is I literally have games from 2018 on that I recorded. And a lot of them, until 2 years ago, there was none that were high definition, or not high definition, but 4K. So I'm going to upscale. It's just going to be kind of fun, raw footage of different situation that maybe a couple people will watch on that. Now, one thing I got is we got a comment on one of our 6EF videos, the event at Mirabel, and a gentleman noted, "Hey, I was in that game, the opposite team, and I remember you guys," referring to C1D. It was a good day, and I believe the Mirabel team did not expect that many players to show up when they organized the event. So I know that Jeff unfortunately couldn't make the event. Connor did. I think that might make a little sense, Connor, and why we kind of each game scenario AM and PM was basically 2 fields and 2 fields. Is maybe they expected a smaller crowd. Does that make sense to you? Or I guess they could have just stretched out and given us any field, but.
I mean, I guess, yeah, because it did feel like when In the very first game when I spoke to Nick, when we were told we were spawning here, they were spawning there. I don't know really the fields too well. And he said, no, it's a big area. You have plenty zone to run and stuff. And I was very surprised that it was only like 20 seconds of running. And it's like, I'm at midway, 20, 30 seconds while I was sprinting. And so it was very small. So it does make sense that, maybe they're expecting maybe 100 people total, like a little over, where it's like 50 to 70 per side. And I think that'd be fine. But yeah, with how many people were there at the end of the day, I wish that it kind of was one side of the road entirely, or a little less maybe, because it did feel a little too cramped.
No, it's a good problem to have. Sorry, Jeff?
Yeah. Well, it's a good problem to have but unless you're not have enough staff for it. I played Mirabelle many times for many years, and I watched all the videos, the coverage for that, and it looked to me that you're right. They had more than they were expecting, and they hadn't blocked off exactly. Like they know how many people they can have on a field to run effectively. They've done enough Tipman challenges and so they know how the flow would work. And I think they got caught flat-footed, going, okay, we had this plan, and we made sure we had the refill tanks at these graveyards so you can get your air. But we hadn't taken into account that if we were to widen the fields or increase, like add additional fields to either side, if we had fully stocked or equipped the other graveyards with air, we have enough people to run that. So it's sort of like the morning looked a little bit chaotic, a little bit disorganized, but they got it all together in time for the afternoon, and the afternoon seemed to flow much better, but the reffing much better with the teams being on a better field to handle that size of crowd.
Yeah, like in the morning when you mentioned that, the morning neither side had a real safe zone to spawn from. Is that the morning side, you either start at the castle and there's a safe zone beside it, but specifically your respawn point was the castle. And so if you wanted to refill on air, you would have to kind of go away from your safe zone, but in the field boundaries where you could get shots to air up.
Yeah.
And after on the other side, your safe zone was across the road. So you have to exit the match and be out for a while, crossing the road, putting your mask on, going on to the next half of the field, airing up, going back. But yeah, then the afternoon game was much better, where your furthest back spawn was right beside your actual safe zone.
Because where that castle is sort of like a dead end part of the field. If you can't really go much further past the castle, you can go northeast into the woods that's south of that was north of where Crash was, where you guys had your start. So that's why they're coming down across from the netting. But they sort of they inadvertently cornered themselves by using that corner, not expecting to have so many players, and they misaligned how many players are on each side.
Now, I'm sitting here wondering, I made some notes here, like, okay, so we kind of didn't announce we were going. We just amongst ourselves, I think we fielded a dozen, 12 or 14 players for C1D went there. And one thing I've always been, and I know I talk to you guys a lot, I'm not sure if I've mentioned it on the podcast too much. I mean, this is podcast, I think our 16th or 17th one, whatever we've done, is I always I'd love to see other groups like us form. I mean, we're pretty much, out of your own field. So we've got, home base is Warzone. There's Fort West, there's Army Globe, an indoor field. Three Rivers has a nice field. What's Three Rivers called again? I forget. It's with Nuketown.
Isn't it Voodoo?
It is Voodoo, and I apologize if anybody from there listens down the road. But if I know we're lucky because we have a lot of members, but honestly, if you start out, if you have 2 guys, 4 guys, 6 guys at your field, and you start to organize like this, I mean, I would love to see 2 or 3 other teams come down. And when I say teams, it's very loose because we're not like superstars in that. But I just think it'll make events like that better.
A group.
So, yeah, just your group,
a coherent group,
your squad to come out. So I just thought that was a nice comment that somebody from the other side made a comment on it and he didn't expect it. So a good issue to have. And I'm not sure we have mentioned it on the last podcast of last year that we'd like to add another kind of big game type to our roster, our schedule of games. But maybe something we'll talk about it, but I don't know if I'm willing to commit 2 or 3 days as we do to D-Day and that. But this event was nice, so maybe we play it again next year. And honestly, I was terrified of the temperature, and it turned out to be all right. But you just never know with the temperature. I mean, last week, even though Connor and I were in New Mexico visiting my daughter slash Connor's sister. It was raining here and plus like 6-7 degrees. Not optimal paintball weather, but you could legitimately have played in December. So, but if I don't have good footing, I'm not going to go up there. But I thought that was nice to get that comment. And
Absolutely.
Something I put up, and one of the things I did right before Christmas is I've got a ton of pictures from all the different events. I mean, every time we have a game day, I dump all the video files and all the pictures in there. Warzone has one of their refs now. She takes pictures when she's reffing, and she puts up a lot of great pictures. So I saved those, and so I decided, hey, I've got them in these individual files. So I uploaded them to Facebook. I put some on Discord and such. And there was one picture that, and again, this is for those listening on just the audio podcast on, what am I putting this up again?
Spotify.
On Spotify. I always get that mixed up with Discord. If you're listening on Spotify, we'll kind of describe it. But one picture I posted, which was from Mike's camera when he was recording, was D-Day. And he says, when people ask him, why do you play paintball? He's actually shown them this picture. Now, for the YouTube version of this podcast, it'll be up on the screen. But for those of you listening on Spotify, you've got his marker up. He's got a stack of triangular barrels to which a teammate's in front of him, his wife actually. Another teammate in the distance to the left. Up maybe 30, 40 yards, more barriers with more teammates. On the right side, Nick with a couple of other. So you see players everywhere. There's smoke dissipating close to them. And in the distance, you see the very far distance, maybe about maybe 40, 50 yards. You see the tree line, Hamburger Hill. You see big military trucks, and you see just an absolute massive cloud of yellow smoke. And I sat there thinking, like, yeah, like, if for those of you who play paintball there, whether it's at work or whatever environment you are with buddies that don't play paintball even, and they ask, well, why do you play paintball? I mean, I'm going to keep that on my phone and pull it up saying, this is why I play paintball, because it was such a cool picture, I thought. And how about you, Connor? I hate to put you on the spot here, but you might have seen that coming. When somebody asks you, why do you play paintball? And maybe you don't have that picture handy. Maybe you open up your phone, you show a video. What do you do when somebody genuinely asks you that question, or what's paintball like in that? I'm just curious. Connor, you representing the younger generation.
Yeah, that's a great question. But first, the comment on Mike's picture, I'm going to speak for Jeff. It's not the perfect picture. Smoke's yellow. What's wrong with that? Come on, we need purple smoke in here. That's
true. That was an airstrike because we kicked their ass.
Yeah, and got sent back. That's true. So, sorry, what's the question again? Just to get it perfectly in my mind.
Let's say you go to university, you happen to be sitting there, the teacher's late, you're sitting there talking. For some reason on your phone, there's a picture of paintball in the background. The person leans over, says, oh, you play paintball? Yeah, so. And then they seem interested and they ask, well, what's it like to play paintball? What do you get out of it? What would you say to try to explain it? More importantly, what would you say to try to hook this guy onto paintball or get him curious about it?
Well, big thing, right, is, well, in that context, is whether I'm speaking to a guy or to a girl, right?
Okay. True. Let's
Yeah,
say, guys.
I don't feel like you speak to the ladies about paintball because they just think you're some sort of masochist that likes pain. But when I speak to guys that haven't played paintball or have played like maybe a few times, like for birthday parties or something, like when they're younger, um, they're always super open to it and pretty accepting. And what I always tell them, what's so great about it, is just like kind of like the epicness that you can get from just being uh, average, right? Like I wouldn't say any of us are superstar players, and none of us are bums or whatever. And you see in sports, right? Like the World Juniors just went on. Well, you know, it's a memory.
Don't go off on that. Don't go off on that.
Yeah, well, the team that's gonna win probably, right? You know, like lifting the little trophy. I always forget what it's called, but that's like, you know, a memory that those people that are gonna have long NHL careers will always have. Right, winning the World Juniors, that was kind of like their first big success, and they might go on to win a Stanley Cup or whatever in their NHL career, but they'll always remember that. And obviously, none of us are those kinds of athletes, right? For, you know, that's like a 1 in a million chance you get really selected to those things. But I feel like paintball is really the one sport that you can have those really epic moments and memories in these big games and form friendships. And like just from this year, I have so many awesome moments of like that epic walk we had towards the end of the game in 5EF, where Rob picked up the smoke and chucked it in a little more, and everybody was walking down the road going automatic. You know, that's something that you can't really get in any other sport. And, you know, we're not professional athletes, right? And we just had that epic moment that I don't think any of us will ever forget. In 6EF, we had that cool moment in the second game where Nevin ran in and popped the flag out, like it just pooped out, and we climbed up the hill and we put it in to win, not to win, but, you know, to win that moment. Even though I think we sort of lost that game, it was still awesome. And yeah, I don't know, like I never got really feeling in amateur sports like playing baseball, lacrosse, or hockey, unless you're like going to some big tournament where you're really winning it all. And the fact that we're not necessarily always winning and we still have these great moments, like that's exclusive paintball.
Very good. And by the way, I did make a note here, besides please don't talk hockey, is before Jeff answers the same question, you got a reprieve of a few seconds here, is we all, Connor's mentioning none of us are superstars. Some of us are a little bit better than the others, but I can honestly say that when I look at our roster of regulars, which is about 12.5 players, is we all had days that we got to shine. There's some days where we didn't shine so much, you know, and I think that's good. And there's times when I see players come out that haven't had a lot of good days, and they have a good day. I just enjoy, you know, like tapping them on the shoulder, saying, "Man, you're lighting them up today." I mean, even though we're not there to necessarily be all stars, it's good to acknowledge this sometimes, and it's something I just keep track of for the year. And anyway, that's, you know, just kissing everybody's ass on that one, right? Jeff, that scenario, you're on a cold tarmac, watching a plane that leaves half an hour later than it should, which means your friends. Let me finish this. God damn it, Andrew, Connor, and his wife Natalie arrived late in Denver. And
your wife Natalie. When you say Connor and his wife Natalie, that insinuates I married my mom. So
no, this
clarify that.
No, this isn't. This isn't something.
And his mother Natalie.
Yeah,
go on.
And have to rent a car to drive 10 hours from Denver because that Air Canada flight was late. And all I know is somebody, when they announced it, they said, due to something Jeff did. No. Anyway, bad dad joke. Jeff, let's say you are waiting on the tarmac, some rookies with you, you're breaking them in, and you happen to mention paintball. What do you say to get them hooked?
I have some experience in this because I'm usually getting guys to play the Air Canada paintball game that we play every year. True. So other than telling them they can shoot coworkers that they're annoyed with, I started with like remember the joy you felt like when you're 6, 7, 8 years old playing cops and robbers, and it's the thrill and chasing each other around and who shot first and who got. Now it's cops and robbers, the same adrenaline, the same fun, the same fantasy, but now you know who shot who first. You actually have a physical evidence that you got him or he got you, and we have really, really fun equipment to play with. It's just really, it's all the tag, the cops and robbers, all of that rolled into one. Army G.I. Joe, people who watched G.I. Joe and Transformers during the 80s, it just, they have the same us versus them intensity, and it's just you lose yourself in the moment, you have fun with it, and like you said, there's nothing quite like the adrenaline. The paintball is flying by your head, you're under cover, or the dreaded whistle of the first strike whizzing by, and then everyone going, oh crap. And it's like you just get so caught up in the moment of trying to get the other side out that everything else falls away. There's nothing, think about what's for dinner, what you did the day before. You're always in that moment and reacting to what's happening to you and around you and your friends. Like I shot my boss in the head one time, and it was over drinks, and you shot me in the head. I said, yes, I did. And that's the only time you're going to let me do that, right? Yeah. So it's just an equalizer. You're on the field. You all have the same, more or less within the same realm of equipment. Let's see what you can do with it. And you just let go. You let everything go and just play.
Nice.
And that's pretty much it. And
by the way, I don't think he let you shoot him in the head. He accepted you shot him in the head.
Well, yeah.
I want to mention that Chris, very loyal Chris, who's in the chat right now. I've made more friends in paintball than anywhere else. My girlfriend always enjoys shooting me. Okay, well, that's therapy, right? And by the way, something in the off season, did I mention? I think I mentioned it when we were doing the sound check earlier, not when we're recording. Is myself, Connor, Alex, who is the third longest tenured member of C1D, and Chris played Call of Duty Zombies on Friday. I'm about to sneeze. Excuse me.
Into your hand.
Into my hand.
I won't tell Mom. It's
okay. I'll just pat her on the head. Say good night, dear. We played Call of Duty Zombies to try to offset paintball, and I was horrible. I got you got 97 revives, Connor, and I think 50, 60, 70, maybe 97 were on me, but that was kind of fun. And just had.
No, I appreciate you. You got my revive stat up on my little like when you check my player card. So I look like a better teammate now. So thank you.
Look like a better teammate.
I'm kidding. It doesn't
count. Do firefight again. I got my Halo warmed up there.
Oh yes,
Call
Halo,
of Duty crap.
ODST.
Halo Infinite Firefight. Yeah.
Infinite. We gotta bring that up. We'll bring that up soon. Two things I wanted to talk about. Then we'll probably cut this short because, like I said, I mentioned before, is we're gonna have another podcast. We're gonna have a few offline. I mentioned a few podcasts extra during the off season, so we don't have to really run too long and find topics. I've got them chopped aside here, but news on two things, on two maps in particular. Now. Connor was with me when we went to Lancaster. It was just 6 of us. And Jeff, you probably saw the video. I know you're pretty good up to date with a lot of our videos. There's a field called Bunker Hill. Yeah. Bunker on top of a hill. Go figure. Some trenches shaped like a U in front of it. Well, he's renamed that field, the field owner, Vimy Ridge, which I've been to Vimy Ridge. World War I battlefield in France, which the Canadians won that battle Easter Sunday. It was 1917. Incredible place. I wish all Canadians could visit. But anyway, he has apparently made a lot of trenches in it, and he's calling it Vimy Ridge, with a lot of trenches, and really done something that if you see a picture of the field saying, well, Bunker Hill looks all right, but it's pretty open. Apparently he's filled that in, so it could be a game changer with that. I'm looking forward to it. But the main thing is I am mapping out Market. Market at Warzone Paintball. It changed at least 3 major changes last year. And as I draw this map out, and part of the goal is because we do want to have a big game where we what do you want to, should we call it, Connor, like a limited big game? And we're not going to get hundreds of people, but maybe 40 players per side would be nice. I would accept 20, but as I'm mapping this out and I compare it to the old maps, people that went to Warzone 3 years ago and are coming back now. And Jeff, you probably can attest to this because you've seen fields evolve over the years. Is that whole area upstairs is morphing into one big field that will be worthy of an actual big game. Not at the level of Commando, because the space there is a lot bigger.
Oh, they're not.
But with everything they're adding in, it's crazy. Connor, you've seen a lot of that. What are your hopes up there? Or do you think? I think it's when they started doing this, I didn't know how it would flow, but it seems, whether by luck or whatever, it seems to be falling in place really quickly. What do you think about the changes, in particular the expansion? I didn't think they could expand market, but here they are making it bigger, and I think dramatically changing it.
Yeah, no, it's kind of always a surprise. Is like you think they're done with one field and they have a new idea always, right? It seems like to change it up. But I mean, I'm gonna make myself look silly, but it's right here with what we've been told, right? With them getting rid of the silos and expanding out market that way to be like an L. After that, like, what else can they do, right? They'll probably, figure out something else to do, but it's pretty cool to be at a place that's kind of like always evolving, for sure. Always playing the same, but different. Like, the best thing I could compare it to was, like, Prime Fortnite. Like, I know you guys are a little too old to be playing that, but the first year of Fortnite really was fun and special because it was kind of the same map, but they changed little sections on it every couple updates, so that there'd always be something new. Oh, there's a new weapon. Oh, there's this new mechanic here, whatever. So you're always used to it, and it always feels like home, like that you feel comfortable there, but there's always something new to learn and new to try. And I'm getting that feeling from Warzone almost. It might have been a bit of a cringe analogy or metaphor, but came to mind first.
Jeff, your comments.
I like it. They, like you said, there's always something. It still feels like home, but you do these little DIYs that make it just a little bit more comfortable to play. But not just like easier, but it makes it more. It sort of completes the whole. It brings it all together, is what I'm trying to say. And like with the village, I'm really impressed with that, and the aerodrome or the terminal that they're coming up with looks really fun. And I think you could probably do a mini game of about 100 players, 50 per side, would work. If you had market, the field, like the forest, village, and the terminal, you could actually get away with about maybe 50 people per side if you play it right, if you put your spawns in the right place.
No, I want. And oh, sorry, finish that up. I apologize.
No. It's the way it's growing is more organic as opposed to, well, let's just throw stuff here, throw stuff. There's a flow to it. You can look at it and you can see where your lanes would be, where would make sense to flow and go through. The only thing is that if they were able to somehow incorporate tires with that, or tires is just going to be standing alone, but I can't remember what the layout is like on the other side behind the graveyard of tires. If market can even go even further back that way. I don't know how the road cuts around. I can't remember offhand. So you could sort of play it with that, but like I said, it's as it is now. It's looking really, really good.
Well, I'm happy you mentioned tire ball because as I'm mapping out the whole field up there, part of it's for the videos, but the real thing is for this big game that we're playing. And I actually have a couple of scenarios where we can incorporate tire ball into it, because tire ball is almost like a fortress because it's surrounded by tires. And I've got a couple of things that I'll float by, because I know you two are two of the other person would be Thomas. The four of us are going to kind of work and on this big game and some ideas and that. And I'll float those ideas to you guys. But yeah, the way they expand it. Remember the bottleneck? The bottleneck between when we tried mini big games 2 years ago, between Village and Market. There's that road that transitioned, and it was horrible. It was horrible. It was the bottleneck, whatever. Now they're putting the missiles that used to be on the side. My favorite place. I think next week the video's out for that. Missiles on Market. It's kind of moved to that area, that dead zone there, and that bottleneck is starting to get a bunch of things there. White House, the area of trees, the little forested area behind it. That's in play. When we play Market, I'm gonna you tell the ref, you know what? You keep that forest in play. Why not? And that expands the area going into the bottleneck. And of course, to the northeast of that is Aerodrome, which I know they were doing a lot of work on the other fields last year, so they didn't. I don't think they went as quickly on that one. But I don't think it's going to take too much to adjust it. And you wait 1 second. And those of you with a Google Assistant right now listening, hide for dear life. Hey, Google, turn on The Office. Okay, see, my wife went to bed and asked for the lights to go out, so that means I'm sleeping on the couch. I think no matter how, I think Aerodrome will be able to incorporate it into a mini big game. I like, Jeff, that you said it's growing organically. And yeah, I didn't even think of the spot there. The high up road on top of Tire Ball where we kind of observe?
Yep.
What if that's in play in a big game? What if you put some drums there that the only time you'll use it is when there's mini big game, but there's lots of extra drums and crates. There's a lot of possibilities, and it's just a good sign from the field for them to be doing something like that. So I'm quite happy about that. The next show we're going to talk about some more specifics. I really do want to get into discussing the big game, the D-Day game, because it's the highlight of the year as far as I'm concerned. Although just going out with the guys on a regular Saturdays is a blast too. But it looks like this year we're previewing the next show because we're a fancy show here. I'm probably going to camp, or I'll figure something out. It looks like some of the guys, more people will be there for 2, maybe even 3 nights. It's becoming a big thing. We're going to have a lot of tents. We're going to have just going to have a lot of fun. And again, I want to go back to something I said earlier. Is I hope this might encourage other people to at their little field wherever they are. I mean, Jeff Connor, is it fair to describe an Warzone is getting bigger and better? But it's a small paintball field. Is it fair to call that, in your opinion, guys? It's a small paintball field.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely not a big one. I wouldn't say it's really small, but compared to other ones in Montreal, it might be small, right? Like Mirabel.
Well, I think it's hard. It's hard to say because we're kind of spoiled here in the Montreal region, so we have Black Ops to the far north of us, which is on the side of a mountain, and they have all this land. Same with Mirabel. Mirabel, I think, has technically the largest square footage of any other paintball field in Canada.
You're listening to the C1D Paintball podcast.
And the terrain that they put it on is not, like to say, it's not that they have small. There's only so much viable space that they can use. And they're using everything they have, and they've made it interesting. So you can have the biggest, widest field, but if there's nothing to do on it, if you have nothing but just a couple of, open a few bunkers, a few tires, and you have so much land that you have to cover to meet each other without anything else being of interest in that field, it doesn't matter how big the field is if it's not interesting, if it doesn't play well, if it doesn't flow well. Like, perfect example, General Splatter in Lancaster, well, in Cornwall, Lancaster, was a small field, but it was a lot of fun because it was so close. The games went quick. You could flip sides. The terrain was interesting. You still had a fortress. You had a castle, but their D-Day field was basically a corridor, and you had to fight your way up it to get to the objective, to the hill, and that made it a lot more fun than, no matter how big, like for instance, like running from the crash field in Mirabel to engage everyone at the castle. That was interesting, but it was just forest with a couple of barriers and wood, so you didn't like. The rest of the field is great, but it all depends what you do with your field, what you do with the land you have. Mm-hmm. So it's more of a quality than quantity kind of question that you should be asking.
For sure, yeah. I mean, Warzone's kind of limited with what they can do, right? Because of like just how it's shaped, just because of the formation of, you know, like the rocks around it, the little mountains and, you know, ditches.
You're on the backside of a ski hill.
I feel like they're doing a really good job with what they have, because it really is an awkward area if you think of it, right?
Well, you have the forest. You have the forest, which is great. Classics Woods Ball. Yeah. I theorized about putting a church because I'm a paintball nerd, or they talked about putting a border station there, which would be interesting. But you know what? Leave it at Woods Ball for now. And they're actually talking about, you know, spawn points 2 and 3 on Village. So the northeast corner. They seem to be clearing it out a bit. So they could be pushing back there a little bit. So, I mean, it's just exciting.
At least it won't be flooded.
Yeah, working on the drainage.
Past the creek.
Yeah, but they got lights up there now too. So honestly, and one thing,
I can't wait to see that.
So one thing I'm thinking about, and this is what the off season about. This is what these episodes will be a lot like. Is one thing I will say. I want to keep secrets for the big game that we still haven't planned yet. So who knows if it happens. I would love the idea of doing it as it starts to get dark. So we can do like we did Twilight at Warzone Heights, that video. But imagine Village. They've got lights now. The perimeter of the village has lights. So it kind of adds to it. So it's just exciting. And I mean, to be fair, Connor and I, for 3 years, maybe even 4 years, we basically played indoors at LaSalle Paintball, Arnold's. And they could do little things, but the field never changed. They changed little things, but it kind of blows my mind. And like, I think Nick missed a game day. So I sent pictures saying, hey man, they changed it. And I updated the maps and I put it on our Facebook and on our Discord. Remember, join the Discord. See, I just slipped that in there. He goes the next week. He says, I'm just going to go. And he grabs some of the guys. It's like, and then I took the week off. And he's like, Andrew, it's already changed again. And it's like, damn, like I got to get out there again. I might drive tomorrow on a Sunday just to see what it's like. And it just makes it exciting. I mean, look, there's nothing that excites your members better than continuous improvement and expanding like this. And I think they're doing a great job at it. And look, Lancaster Paintball are modifying things as well. So, I mean, it's good. It's a good time to be involved in paintball, in particular the Montreal area, as Jeff mentioned. And look, it's New Year's. Remember, after the 10th, stop saying Happy New Year. If you haven't seen the person since last year, that's your own problem. Don't say it. It really bothers me.
I have a question though, Dad, quickly.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of those jokes that you haven't seen someone since last year? It's like, wow, I haven't seen you in a year.
Yeah.
Are those jokes in? Like, are they acceptable or no?
Even for dad joke status, which Jeff and I are professionals in, no longer acceptable, I would say. Or the last day of the work, December 29th, you say, see you next year. That's barely acceptable. Jeff, any comments on the dad joke status of those?
At least until Epiphany, and the latest the 15th of January. I haven't seen you since last year. You look good. You haven't lost that weight yet. What's happened? Those kind of things up until about the 15th. And that's it.
Okay, so I've already set up our next episode. I've already gone and rambled about what could be into next year. But I know one thing for sure, it's going to be a good one. Lots of exciting things. Again, I already thanked people at Christmas, but I want to thank everybody who's a member of C1D, guys who just drop by occasionally. Look, we saw Jared once a year last year, once 2 years ago, twice last year. Now he's got a marker. We see him more. There are players like that. Conrad, we see him once a year. He shows up at D-Day. You don't have to, I think, and again, maybe a teaching moment if people are sitting there saying, how do I grow the sport in that? Now some people, I'm so tired of that, how you grow the sport. No. Just here's an idea on something we did is you don't have to be fully committed. We don't have dues you pay. We don't say, hey man, why didn't you come? Go out when you can. It's not the cheapest sport in the world. As long as you get out once in a while. And if I see somebody that only comes out 2 or 3 times a year, I'll welcome them as if they're there all the time, because if they're part of our group, we kind of screen them. So we know that they're there just to have fun. And look, we just, yeah. I mean, Jeff, your schedule sometimes does not allow you to come out. Connor, your school schedule as well. And if you have precious little time to paint paintball and you're going out there, I want to make sure that we let you know that you're welcome there. We're happy to see you there to make it the best time possible. And yeah, so any parting shots here, guys? We're just say Happy New Year for the last frickin' time. Not ever, but for this year. Maybe forever. You don't know what happens.
Yeah, I agree with your statement, but it might not apply to Alex. Alex and Michael, they need to come out more. If I'm making the time to avoid my school stuff, I plan around it. I don't know if they have much of an excuse.
Michael went out a lot. I think Alex went out 3 or 4 times, but Alex did pick us up at the airport when we landed the other day. Yeah. And although I tipped him, I still kind of owe him. So I can't really. Next episode, I can talk about that. But he's got a jersey.
Okay.
Oh, that's something else. If you're listening to this, we are putting the orders in for jerseys, our standard green ones, Purple Haze limited, regular jerseys. I don't know if it's limited edition. Armbands. I think armbands are going to be big with the C1D. You got anti whatever microfibers. That's what it is. We're going to putting the order for that. It's I charge cost plus shipping and tax. It's not a money making endeavor. It's just so you go out there and you look good, because we're talking, and Connor mentioned we're not pros and all that, but I think we look damn good out there. So do we end that on a positive note where we kind of like strut out like proud peacocks here? There's like, this is bad.
Yeah, that's my peacock. That's my peacock. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to like pigeon thing, but yeah.
I thought you were, for those of you listening on Spotify, I thought he was having a seizure on the camera.
Okay, man. You gotta get to bed.
I gotta get to bed.
You're past your bedtime. Yeah.
So, Connor, Jeff, I want to thank you for coming in here and having this nice little chat to kick off the season 2 of the podcast, season 8 of C1D. I want to thank Chris, who's listening live and who put up with my crappy play of Call of Duty Zombies the other night as well. And just go out there, have fun. If you are unfortunate enough to have a winter like us where you can't play paintball all the time, although I explained, I like the time off. Well, maybe we can fill in the gap until you can get out there and shoot people. Drop us a line. You know what? Subscribe. I wouldn't mind to subscribe to YouTube, and rate this podcast. I normally don't ask for things like that, but you know what? Just spread the news, because the more people that join in the community, the stronger it is. I want to teach you something. You teach me something about how your community works, so we can make it all better in the big picture. Thanks for listening. On behalf of Jeff, Connor, and even Chris, I'm Andrew from C1D Paintball. Have a great frickin' day.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to like us, rate us, and tell everybody about us. Thanks for listening.